When you create videos for clients, Frame.io is often the go-to platform to get feedback on your work. Now, back in 2021, it was acquired by Adobe. And if you're still working in Premiere Pro, you get to use an integrated panel that lets you see all the notes and feedback that your client has left. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get your feedback from Frame into DaVinci Resolve. And then, if you're one of the many people that doesn't actually want to give Adobe any more money, I'm going to show you some of the other options you've got, including one that's from the team behind DaVinci Resolve. Now, it's definitely not as fully featured, but I'm going to show you all the pros and cons, and then you can decide if it's a viable alternative. I should point out that the same functionality used to exist in Resolve about 7 years ago or so, but at some point it got removed. Now, I'm not sure when that happened, or if it had anything to do with Adobe buying it. But I'll be honest, back then, one of our editors tried installing the plugin or the script or whatever it was, and then it instantly corrupted the project he was working on and pretty much bricked Resolve for half a day. So we just kind of got rid of it and went back to flipping between the browser window and our timeline. Anyway, here's an example of a Frame project where a client's left some feedback. Up here in the top right, you'll see a 3-dot menu. When you click on it, you'll see an option to export comments. And when you hover over that, you'll get a list of file types. Down at the bottom, you have a CSV or comma-separated values file, along with a plain text TXT. The CSV file opens like a spreadsheet and gives you a ton of information along with your notes. The plain text file is much simpler and just gives you the notes, time codes, who left it and when. Then you've got options for a few different types of editing software. If you're working in Final Cut Pro, you'll see an option called FIO.json. Now that's a different type of text file that Final Cut can import to drop comments straight onto your timeline as markers. Avid and Premiere Pro do this by using an XML file. That's something you often see used when you're trying to move an edit from one piece of software to another. It can store timeline information like cuts, transitions, effects, and metadata, and I assume they've got separate options because they must interpret that information in different ways. Resolve gets a way more basic option called an EDL, which stands for Edit Decision List. It's literally just a plain text document that lists file names and time codes that tell you where a cut starts and where it ends. It's been around since the 70s, I think, and it's very limited compared to an XML. The last time I had to use an EDL was way back in the early 2000s when we would save them to a floppy disk so that we can move a project between edit suites because, yes, I am apparently from olden times. Let's hop into Resolve and get these notes loaded in. I'm going to find the timeline that matches the video on frame here in the media panel. Then I'm going to right-click on it and select Timelines, Import, Timeline Markers from EDL. And then I'll select the EDL file and press Open. If you look at the timeline, you'll see it's added markers at each point where a note was left. If you hover over it on the timeline with the cursor, you should get a pop-up so you can read it. Also, in the 3-dot menu at the top right of the viewer, if you have Show Marker Overlays enabled, when you park your playhead on the marker, it will show up in the corner of your viewer. But if it's a long line of text, it might get cut off. Under that same menu, at the end of the list, you'll see the word Markers. Hovering over that will show them as a list, and clicking on one of them will take you to that part of the timeline. Finally, you can see the notes under the index panel, which you open by pressing this button up at the top left of the UI, and then selecting Markers. The note that the client left will be in the Notes column. You might want to do some rearranging by grabbing the column at the top where it says Notes and dragging it over to the left. Then you can put your cursor in between two column names to make them wider or narrower. You can right-click on any column name to decide which one shows up, and then you can save this as a preset so you don't have to do this again. Also, this whole index panel is super useful and very underrated. Now, I made a video all about it, which I'll link to down below. If somebody adds another note to frame after you've exported your EDL file, that obviously isn't going to be reflected on your timeline. So you're going to have to export a new one and then import your markers over again. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you don't want to use Frame.io, there are other options that are out there in the market. If you're already using Dropbox to store your files, Dropbox Replay is a very easy option. It will let clients leave notes at specific time codes, just like Frame, without needing a whole separate service. If you're already paying for a Vimeo subscription, review tools are included if you pay for a Pro plan or one of the more expensive options. That said, I would probably steer clear of Vimeo. They got bought by a company called Bending Spoons a little while back. Now, they've bought quite a few other companies, like Evernote and WeTransfer and StreamYard, and they seem to have gained quite the reputation for taking over companies, firing a bunch of people, and then just jacking up the prices. So there's a chance that your plan might get kind of spendy if it hasn't already. The option that doesn't get talked about very much is from Blackmagic Design themselves, called Presentations, which has got some really good aspects and some really annoying ones as well. I'm going to show you how to set it up from beginning to end so you can see the whole workflow. Now, the first thing you need is a Blackmagic account. If you don't have one already, you can set it up by going to the Blackmagic website and pressing the login button here in the top right corner. Then you'll be taken to the Blackmagic Cloud site, where you can either log in or create an account. The next thing you'll probably need to do is pay for some storage. Now, each account comes with 2 gigs of storage free, but depending on how many videos you want your clients to watch, that might not go very far, as you'll see a little bit later. Navigate to the settings page by pressing this button right here. Then on the new page that opens, select Manage Services, and then in the row for cloud storage, select the cog at the end. Then you'll see a button for adding storage. I assume this price is going to vary by country, but these are the prices here in the US. You pay per month, and you can change the amount depending on how busy you are. So, for example, you could pay for a terabyte one month, and then switch back to a free plan the month later, depending on your needs. You can have up to 20 presentations going simultaneously with every Blackmagic account. Think of each presentation like a project within Frame. Now, the amount of videos you can have within each one is going to be limited by the amount of storage space you've got. If for some reason you need more than 20 presentations running at once, back in the Manage Services section, you can choose to pay for more. Now we're going to set up your first presentation. Press the presentation icon up here on the top. And then the first time you do, you'll be asked to give your first presentation a name. Now, one big and annoying difference to Frame is that you can't just upload whatever video you want to the presentation. The only way a video shows up here is if it's sent directly from the Deliver page. So let's hop back to Resolve and I'll show you how to do it. Open up the Deliver page by hitting Shift and 8 on your keyboard, or by pressing the icon down here at the bottom of the UI. Under the preset drop-down menu, about halfway down the list, you're going to see an option for presentations. If you haven't signed into your Blackmagic account within Resolve, you'll need to press this Manage Account button. That's going to open up the Internet Account section of the user preferences. Up top, you'll see the Blackmagic Cloud section, so sign in there and then press Save. Now when you go back to the render settings on the Deliver page, you're going to get 2 very simple options. In the file name option, you can manually type in a name for your export, or you can click this little drop-down menu and pick from a crazy long list of metadata and build a title that way. Personally, I just name the timeline with the correct name in advance, and then I type the % sign, and then I start to type the word timeline and select timeline name from the metadata list. The bottom one is where you select which presentation to upload to. Since in this example, I only have one set up, that's all that shows up in the list. Other than giving it the ability to use proxy media for the export if the full res media is missing, that is it in terms of options. And that is my biggest issue with presentations. If you have subtitles, like in this example, and you want to burn them in so that the client can check them all for errors, you can't. Or say you've got a really long video like a podcast. You might want to lower down the bitrate of the file it's creating so it's not using up quite as much cloud storage. Tough luck, you can't do that either. I'm going to add this to the render queue and then render it out. You'll see it create the file and then automatically start uploading it to the presentation you selected. Okay, let's head to the browser and I'll give you a quick tour of the UI. Starting on the left, you'll have a list of all the presentations you currently have in your account. This little icon will hide or show the list. Along the bottom, you'll see a few icons that should seem familiar, like play and stop. These 2 icons will jump between all the videos you have in this presentation. Since I've only got one in here right now, they're grayed out. The loop button has a couple of modes. If you select Loop All, it will play all the videos in your presentation one after the other. If you select Loop 1, it's just going to loop the video that you've got selected. Above them, you've got the playhead to show you where you are in the video. And over here, you'll see the time code of the current frame. There's a volume control that you can either click to mute and unmute the video, or you can hover your mouse over it to reveal a slider to make it quieter or louder. Then you've got the Start Sync button, which I'm going to come back to in a minute, a button for adding a marker at the frame you're currently on, and a button for making the video full screen. Here on the top, you'll see a thumbnail with your username. Now this is the most powerful part of presentations, because you can invite people to watch a file and have a video call with them at the same time to get live feedback and discuss what you're watching. We have a button to change the view between this default view, theater view, which just hides the side panels, or grid view, which hides the player and just shows the camera feeds of whoever's on the call. There's also an option for the default and theater views to show large video call thumbnails. But whoever designed this has a weird idea of what large means, because the difference is pretty tiny. Next to that are options to enable or disable your camera and microphone, along with options to choose different input sources. Finally, we have the right panel, which has got 3 sections. Clips will have a list of every video you've uploaded to this presentation, along with a search panel if you need it, and some different parameters for the order of your list. Then you have the markers panel, which is where you'll see a list of all the markers that have been left, along with the same search and list options. And finally, the chat column. This is a group chat for the whole project that never disappears. You can use it for notes or questions or a back and forth with whoever's reviewing, all saved so you can scroll back to it later. And that's one big advantage compared to Frame. Because if you've got multiple people that are reviewing something, they'll quite often just start having a conversation back and forth in the comments, and that can get really cluttered and confusing to read. Now, most importantly, absolutely everybody in the presentation can read this chat, and there's no delete button. Once it's sent, it is sent. So this is not the place to moan to your colleagues about your client and their lack of taste. And speaking of clients, now let's take a look at how you share your work with other people. With the left side panel open, hit this little information symbol next to the name of your presentation. The first option is where you can enable or disable the presentation. That won't delete videos or anything. It just means nobody else, including you, can watch anything. Before we get to the other settings, there are two different ways that you can share this presentation with other people. If you want to share it with other people you work with, press this share button at the bottom, and then add in the email address that they've got assigned to their Blackmagic account. Once they accept, they'll show up on this list. Now, the little crown icon next to you means that you are the administrator of this presentation, so that only you can add and remove people. When you want to send it to clients, you'll need to enable this button that says Allow Guest Access to Presentation. And separately, you can decide if they have view-only access or if they can add markers. And if you want to allow members to start something called a sync session. Now, I skipped this earlier, but if you click on this icon at the bottom of the viewer, that means everybody that's currently in the presentation will be looking at the same frame of the same video that you are. This is great to use along with the video chat feature, because then you know you're all looking at the same thing at the same time. Now, it's up to you if you want to remain in control of this, or let someone else on the call take control by using that little permissions toggle. Once you've allowed guest access to the presentation, you should see a link pop up underneath. Click this symbol to copy it to your clipboard, and then you can send it to whoever needs it. Your client won't need to make a Blackmagic account or anything, they just need this link. And you can generate a new one at any time by pressing the generate button. When your client clicks on the link, they're going to see this page where they choose their display name. This is what you'll see when they leave markers or talk in the chat, and it'll be shown under the thumbnail for their camera. Then they'll get a screen that might freak them out a little bit. It's going to ask them for permission to access their camera and microphone. Now, if they aren't planning on having a video chat with you through the presentation, they can choose to give no permissions, and they'll still be able to watch the video by pressing the Join Presentation button. With that said, if they decide they do want to have a video chat with you later in the same session, if they enable the camera and microphone, the audio and video settings don't seem to let them select anything. They're going to need to close the browser window and then click on the link again. Other than the list of presentations on the left, they're going to see pretty much the same view that you've got. When they want to leave markers, they've got two options. The first way is to click on the marker icon at the bottom. That's going to add a marker at the current frame. And in the marker panel, if they hover over that marker that they created, a little pencil icon is going to appear. Then they'll be able to write whatever they want. Alternatively, with their playhead parked on the frame where they want to leave their note, they can just start typing a comment at the bottom of the panel and then press Add Marker. One thing I definitely miss here that you've got in frame is threaded comments, where multiple people can leave a comment on the same marker. Now, the best you can do is leave a separate marker on the same frame. Let's jump back to Resolve and see what happens over there. You'll notice that markers have automatically been added to the timeline, but they're little circles rather than the normal marker shape. If they've got a little white circle inside, that means that marker's got a comment attached to it. You can see what was written in the same ways I showed you before, like hovering over a marker or opening the index panel. Or you can double click on a marker and a presentations pop-up will appear. You don't have a panel showing all the comments like you do in Premiere Pro and Frame, so you have to open each one individually. Weirdly, while you can't have threaded comments in the browser, you can reply to a comment using this pop-up. If I head back to the browser, you'll see the comment is shown up as a new marker at the same timecode. Now, there's a few other things that are missing. If you've got multiple videos in your presentation, you can't create a link to just one particular video. So that means the viewer will have to look through the list or use that search bar to find the one that you want them to watch. You can't stack videos on top of each other to create versions like you can in Frame. And you can't create folders to help organize a project with lots of videos in it. I mean, honestly, the whole thing kind of feels like a half-finished product. Now, there are things that it does really well, and it's definitely lacking in a few places. But I've seen so many videos and Reddit posts about people wanting to ditch Adobe that I figured I should at least show you that it exists as an option. Now, I'd really love to know if there's another company that you've been using as an alternative to Frame. So let me know in the comments down below if you've seen something that you really think I should check out. And while you're down there, please take a second to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And I know everybody asks this, but it really does help these videos get seen by other people who might need them. Now, if instead of sending a video to clients, what you actually want to do is live stream your edit to them so that they can give you notes in real time, I made a whole video about that, which you can watch by clicking right here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.